In 1908, a young college graduate from England with a career of fame and fortune in front of him decided to go and become a missionary to China. He went to China and he went to the rural province of Yunnan in China, which is full of mountains. And here's a slide, a picture of the region of the world that he went to. You can see how mountainous it really is. We were actually in this part of China 9 years ago, and he served to bring the gospel to the Lisu people up in these mountains. Today there are about 730 or so thousand Lisu people, and approximately half of them are firm and steady believers today in Jesus Christ. So here is my wife and I standing up at some of the top of these mountains, and you can see, if you look closely at the picture, that there is a river that runs at the base of these mountains. And in this next picture, you'll see that there is a bridge across this river. This bridge was only a year old at the time that we were there. Before this, if you wanted to get to the village, the little houses that you can see along that river, you had to take a T-bar across the river, a zip line, to get over. And a zip line going back if you wanted to get to the road and get a ride into some other village. That's how remote this part of the world was. Now there's a bridge there, so we were able to drive over rather than do the zip line, which I was a little disappointed that I didn't get to try the zip line. But nonetheless, in this next picture, you'll see that my wife is in the middle and she's greeting some of the Lisu people. And we got a chance to teach the gospel of life to the Lisu pastors that came from all over this part of the China in 2013 to study what the Bible says about life, about abortion, about family, about bringing the gospel to those who suffered the pain of abortion, and what we need to do as God's people to rescue the innocent. In this next picture, I am actually in the home of one of the Lisu people. This is actually their kitchen. They have a little room, smoke-filled. They have a fire on the floor, and that's where they do all their cooking, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So here we are sitting around chatting and getting ready for some tea or coffee or whatever we were drinking that day. I can't really remember. But this is how poor and humble these villages are and their homes are. But when you look at the next picture, you'll see this beautiful, bright church building. So in the midst of this village of colorless, poor, what you might even call ramshackle buildings, there's always in each one of these villages this bright and shiny building, and that's the church. They put all of their effort into making that one building stand out as the most important and most extraordinary building in the village. What happened was that in 1908, James O. Fraser left England and went to this part of China. None of the people among the Lisu had a written language, so he had to create an alphabet for them. Then he had to learn the Lisu language. Then he had to reduce it to the alphabet and spelling. Then he had to teach the people how to read. And then he had to translate the Bible into Lisu so that the people could then read the Bible. When I was there, I got to speak to them in English, and then a pastor translated it into Chinese, and then a Chinese pastor had to translate it into Lisu because none of the Lisu people speak Chinese, even though they live in China. He struggled for many years, and he became a deep man of prayer. He raised up an army of prayer warriors, and through his long struggle, James O. Fraser brought the gospel to this group of people. It's one of the most remarkable stories in world mission history. And if you'd like to learn more about James O. Fraser, there is a 1-hour video documentary of his life called Breakthrough that you can find on Vimeo or probably some other places as well. The story of James O. Fraser and the Lisu people. I have been to the place that he left his mark, and I have seen the impact that he left on these people as they worship Jesus Christ and bring him glory in their own way by building these beautiful buildings, the church buildings in their villages. We've been there. We've seen the fruits of what people have done in previous generations, and you and I get to go to these places and add to that foundation and leave our mark for the next generation and the one after that. So I think this story of the Lisu people is one of the most remarkable stories. And in our 10-year history, going to this part of China was probably one of the most remarkable experiences of my life. Check out James O. Fraser, missionary to the Lisu people. I think you'll enjoy it.